I'm Alpina Singh, and welcome to Check Please. This is the show where regular people from all over Chicago recommend and review their favorite restaurants. So this is how this show works. Every week we have 3 guests. Each recommends his or her favorite spot, and the other 2 go to check them out to see what they think. This week, kitchen and bath designer Mike Gilbert says his dream creation cooks up amazing, sizzling Szechuan flavors. He says for a spicy good time, follow him to his favorite authentic spot. But educator Keisha Remberts is always California dreaming. She says for one of the truly bright, beautiful places in all of Chicago, you gotta join her at her tasty selection. But up first, healthcare marketing manager Joanna Moy-Likowski says if you think coffee shops can't have fantastic food, she's got a wake-up call for you. She says for sophisticated plates in a cozy setting, stop in at Finom Coffee on Irving Park.
I get a bunch of people who come in and they're like, wow, like this looks like my grandma's house. It feels like my grandma's house. And they get super comfortable and they let their guard down and they hang out. And that's why we did this. If we're gonna elevate coffee to this mythological status that it's at right now, why not elevate the food? You know, it's like it should meet somewhere.
The type of food we serve is Hungarian inspired. My wife is Hungarian, and I obviously have been cooking it at home and learned from her family how to do this stuff. So we have a few traditional items like goulash and paprikash and stuff like that, but we're trying to do our own take on things.
The food was awesome, coffee's equally as good, and your grandma would be really comfortable hanging out. Like that's cool grandmas only.
So Joanna, you said that Finom is phenomenal. Tell us why you chose it.
Well, it's such like a surprise that I just thought that everybody needed to try it. It's the greatest place. The chef are just amazing at what they do. They understand flavors really well. And it's just like a really low stress type of place to try like fine dining, maybe for the first time.
What's interesting is, I get all the restaurants, like these are the restaurants we're gonna do. So when I got the list, I'm like, Finom Coffee, I'm like, why are we doing a coffee shop? And then I went, I'm like, oh, so this is why we're doing it.
That was my thought too. I'm like, a coffee shop? Like, really? And then I was like, no, the coffee shop.
Yes.
The only coffee shop I need to go to. And forget the coffee.
Yeah.
So Keisha, what is so surprising about the food?
Well, the food is like this elevated, refined menu.
Hungarian flavors, right?
Hungarian flavors. So I took my daughter who had gone to Budapest a couple of years ago, and when she had originally talked to us about Budapest, she said, it's just soul, Mom, it just has soul. And then when we get there, she's like, see, Mom, this is what I'm talking about, it's the soul.
And
so
you've got the history.
And you've got the history.
Yeah,
so
it's a landmark building,
it's a landmark
130 years old, and you can actually see the sign when you go and get your
Yes.
cream and sugar.
It's gorgeous.
It used to be a tavern. It used to be a massage parlor. I remember
That's what makes
driving.
it landmark. Joanna, what are your go-to items on the menu?
I really like the paprikas, which is the mushroom soup, and I miss it. I long for it when I'm traveling. The cod liver, which I'm obsessed with. I think it was on the menu recently, so like you really need to go out and like eat that because if you haven't tried it, just like get it while you can because he sources seasonally.
We had the head marrow toast and the cauliflower toast.
The marrow toast was so, it's mine.
They
marrow
both
toast
pair
is
really well with
amazing.
coffee.
Yes. These toasts, you could cut them in half, take them to River North, charge 3 times as much, and you'd run out every night. We wanted to get one plate that had something a little bit bigger, and we chose the paprikash.
That is my favorite.
We love mushrooms and
Yes.
gnocchi mushrooms. They're just amazing. It's not something you see in a normal restaurant. Normally you just get plain old button. But this was really lovingly prepared. It was surprising.
And it was beautiful.
Oh yeah.
And
The
like it's
garnish,
artful.
Yes, everything is like a painting. He just like presents you a plate with like gorgeous colors, and just you eat with your eyes first, always.
The seared cod liver, which the cannellini beans and the corn and the tomatoes, and it was just so much texture and beauty and decadence all in one. And it was always the perfect bite. So sometimes in a dish, you're trying to find the perfect bite to get the perfect combinations, and I never had to search for the perfect bite.
Right.
So Joanna, they're able to, there's two chefs actually, Daniel and Raphael,
Really
but
large.
they're not working from a kitchen out of Finom.
No, they're actually on an induction burner and a little toaster oven. Just two tops, and I mean, they're cranking out amazing food as you
It
experience.
just goes to show that a good chef, he doesn't need
Nope.
a $200,000 kitchen. He
Nope.
just needs enough room to move and chop.
How would you describe the look of the place?
I would describe it's an old school Chicago tavern that has books for sale in it and a little coffee counter. It's very interesting. It's very eclectic. It's
You got
pretty
books
fun.
for sale.
And there's like old wood shelving and comfortable couches.
So this is a coffee shop, so we should
Yes.
talk about coffee. And their coffees are presented quite extravagantly.
Beautiful.
I end up getting there was a special, I think it was the Apollo Spritzer that had I think it was grapefruit and espresso and just all these flavors. And I'm like, oh, I'm converted. I'm now a coffee person because it was just something different.
I actually had a lemon citrus matcha drink, and I chose that because I was like, okay, you got head marrow, I got paprikash, I've got some heavy dishes. I want to try something a little bit lighter than espresso.
Right.
And it really worked well. I wasn't sure, but it really paired well. I was very surprised.
And that actually is the intention of Finom, is they're serving all this elevated coffee drink, and just like you would have at a nice wine bar to have the food, why not elevate the food? That's the surprise of Finom, right?
The beauty of Finom is that you can do whatever you want. Like if you feel like one of those beautiful toasts, which you should get one of those, and then you could get a delicious pastry afterwards.
All right, Joanna, you pick Finom, sum it up for us.
A well-priced coffee shop that has great food.
Mike
Eclectic Hungarian cuisine in a coffee shop setting.
and Keisha.
Refined, soulful food at a great price.
Well, you can try the paprikash and much more at Finom Coffee, 4200 West Irving Park Road, 312-620-5010. They're open weekdays 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. and weekends 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Reservations are not accepted, and the average tab per person without drinks is $15. Keisha Rembert loves the laid-back vibes and fresh flavors of California cuisine. She says for design-rich, award-winning, wonderful taste of the West Coast, pull up to Pacific Standard Time on Erie Street.
I would describe PST as first and foremost being very approachable. Everything we do, I think, comes from a very genuine place. Think the farmers markets in California. No matter what time of the year, there's just this abundance of beautiful produce, beautiful vegetables, and that's really the basis for the inspiration here. We don't like to do anything fussy. You know, at the end of the day, we just really like to let the ingredients speak for themselves. The design kind of goes part and parcel with the concept. It's like we're inviting people to our homes for a dinner party, right? Like the chef's counter, which runs along the open kitchen and into the past where all the food comes out. It's as if the food is coming off the line and being passed over like you would at your home when you're entertaining. The atmosphere here is very lively, it's very bustling, and it's just a fun place to be.
So Keisha, you say that PST is just about perfect. Tell us why you chose it.
Well, I am Chicago born and raised, but always California dreaming. And so going to Pacific Standard Time takes me on that kind of mini vacation that I love. The decor, it's like the trifecta. The decor, the food, the vibe is just kind of divine for me. It feels really good.
What does California cuisine mean?
So when I think of California cuisine, I think of seasonal, fresh, and simple. Like just simple stuff elevated well. So like seafood and the beef tartare and things like even their flatbreads that are oven fired are just like what I think of when I think of going to California and eating there.
Yeah, all right. So seasonal and fresh.
Yes.
All right. Mike, what'd you think?
I was blown away. I have eaten in a lot of Chicago restaurants, and this is in my top 5. It was that good. It was incredible. My girlfriend says, since you recommended it, we have to become friends, and we have to find out where you go now.
Okay. Well, we have to go back there.
Absolutely.
I think he's going to be going back.
Absolutely. Right. And one of the things that I really loved about it that you touched on was the seasonality. And when we were there, we had a strawberry salad that I've dreamt about.
We've had the same salad. It was so good.
And it's off the menu now.
I haven't had the salad.
Yeah.
Well, because it's seasonal.
Because it's
Strawberries
seasonal.
are out of season.
And that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, they have some things that it looks like they stay on the menu for a while, but then the strawberries went out of season. Now they've got plums on it, and the plums were just as good. The second time we went,
again.
I've been there 3 times. I might have a problem with it now. Yeah, it's amazing.
You're having
amazing.
PST withdrawals.
I need the recipe for that roasted cod.
Oh my goodness, so good,
really
so good.
My girlfriend's not a big fish eater, and she ate this and she said it's changed.
So, Joanna, you took your assignment very seriously, and you went with your posse.
I went with a
6
really
people.
large group, 6 people on a Sunday night. It was fairly busy, but it wasn't too crowded. And we ordered everything, naturally, that we could try. The ricotta dumplings were like nothing I've had before. Like usually when you think of a ricotta dumpling, it's like a pillowy dough dumpling that you boil. And this was like a dumpling that was filled with like a beautiful ricotta filling. And it was just my favorite dish of the night.
Eggplant and an extra set to $3.31, please.
Keisha, you actually followed Chef Erling Mubauer from his previous restaurant to Pacific Standard Time.
Yes, we kind of stalked him. But because we loved I'm a seafood girl too, so the seafood was prominent there and prominent here. But actually my favorite new thing isn't seafood, it is the roasted pork chop. Did any of you have it? Oh my goodness, the roasted pork chop just tasted so sweet in your mouth. It was like heaven and the perfect bite, and that pork chop was juicy and just juice dripping, and it's fantastic.
But the desserts. Oh my goodness, the desserts were amazing. I would go back like again and just eat dessert.
What did you get?
I mean, we got the sundae, and then a crumble of some sort, and then a chocolate torte or chocolate dessert of some sort, because everybody, chocolate, like that's the natural choice. But the sundae was the one that I was like really, really obsessed with.
Keisha, this is a beautiful restaurant.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's just that mid-century modern vibe that I love, with the whites and the plants everywhere, and the bar being central just kind of brings it all together.
You know, it's funny, plants are such a big trend in restaurants now, and it's like, where are all these plants coming from?
We asked, we were like, are these real? They're really green.
Are
they are real. We asked because we're like, who waters them? Because they're like up so high, and they take turns, and they care for the
Part of the
plants.
side work.
Yeah.
Well, if you go up to the rooftop, it's a beautiful garden up there. So the greenery continues up there. It's just gorgeous with all these flowers too.
All right, Keisha, you recommended Pacific Standard Time. Sum it up for us.
Pacific Standard Time is seasonal fare in a beautiful space that will never disappoint you.
All right, Joanna.
It was beautiful, and the food matched.
And Mike?
Incredibly well-balanced food, lovingly prepared in a beautiful, beautiful atmosphere.
All right, well, you can experience it for yourself at Pacific Standard Time, 141 West Erie Street, 312-736-1778. Open for lunch and dinner Sunday through Friday and dinner on Saturdays. Reservations are accepted and the average tab per person without drinks is $55. Chinatown offers all kinds of regional Chinese cuisines, but for his fiery favorites, Mike Gilbert heads to a bustling spot just outside the city. He says for plates that pack a punch to your palate, pop over to Peppercorns Kitchen on Davis Street.
China is a big country. They have lots of different kind of food. I would say Sichuan food is focused on the peppercorn, the numbing taste. That brings you tingly, numbing feeling to your tongue. It'll bring you like different levels of flavors. We're not upscale restaurant. We're just like family style restaurant, and we have good service and good food. Lots of food are handmade. If you want to try something different, something spicy, but not crazy, come to Peppercorns Kitchen.
So Mike, you said that Peppercorns Kitchen puts the spice in your life. Tell us why you chose it.
Well, I love Chinese food. I'm a Chicago boy from Rogers Park, but I've got a Chinese stomach. And I love all Chinese food. But in particular, I love the spicy Szechuan, Southwestern Chinese, the chili peppers, the garlic, the ginger, the pickled vegetables. And the thing that I love about Peppercorns is that it's one of those places I can go with a huge group of people, and I know that I can have the super spicy food that I love while still finding something safe for Grandma and something for my Uncle Mike, who also loves spicy food. And then my girlfriend can have something with vegetables that she really will find appetizing.
And Mike, what are your go-to dishes at Peppercorns?
I usually get the spicy fish fillet and Szechuan sauce. The mapo tofu is fantastic. If you've never tried tofu, this is a great place to start. It's so silken, so delicious. The beef maw and tendon appetizer in a light chili sauce is just a wonderful counterpoint.
Joanna, you went with your big group.
Yes, I went with a really big group. And aside from like seating us in a really like comically small table, it was a very great experience. It felt authentic as I can say as a non-Szechuan person. It was approachable as well. Of course, nobody beats my grandma's cooking.
Her grandma likes spicy food.
She does. However, she's not Szechuan, and like when I want like really spicy food, Szechuan food just hits the spot every time.
There's something addictive about spicy food.
Yeah.
Right?
You can't stop eating.
What did
it.
you
It's just
order?
So good. We had the dried chili chicken. I think they call it popcorn chili chicken. It was so good. It was half chili peppers and half chicken, but it was just like amazing. And then we also had this like garlic eggplant dish that I could have eaten an entire order myself. It was so good. I had a really great dan dan noodle. Oh my gosh, that was so delicious. It was like a beef dish with like the noodles, and you like mix it up, and we were basically fighting for it.
The best dish that I had was my husband's. He had a like cumin beef dish, and I was like eating it, and I could have eat more with a vat of water. I was just like drinking water so as I ate it. I had it was a special, I think it was the beer duck, and it was really good. It was good, and I tasted those pickled vegetables that you talked about. It just didn't sing like my husband's dish sang to me. My daughter ordered salt and pepper shrimp, I think it was, and those were really good too.
One of the things that I love about it is that when I go there, I can ask the server and say, hey, you know that I've ordered this before and that before because I go there a lot. And it's like, give me something else to try. It's like, I want to try something different. And they're not afraid to offer, say, try the kidneys. Okay.
I was going to say, the one thing that sets Peppercorns apart, aside from it being a Szechuan province, is they have a lot of exotic items on the menu.
Yeah. If it tastes good, I'm going to eat it.
Even game is game.
Absolutely. I'll try anything once.
And I will too. I wish I would have had the same service of kind of being able to walk me through. I felt like I'm kind of heat averse, but when I asked the server, okay, hey, I'm kind of spice averse, can you help me? I didn't necessarily get the advice that I wanted. So I was trying to just get a sense of like what was in this or what was in the special. And I don't know if there just seemed to be a communication gap that I wish I could have overcome.
Joanna, how was your service?
It was interesting, but I think it's part of the authenticness of it. I had trouble making reservations, and when I was there, I told them about a shellfish allergy that I have, and they were kind of abrupt with it, but I didn't have a reaction, so I guess
You're still here.
I guess it happened. So I mean, I'm fine.
Mike, what's the crowd generally like?
There's usually a bunch of students from Northwestern there, families. I always see families there. I'll be sitting with 8 Chinese people on one side of me, and then a grandma and grandpa on the next to me, and then another couple families. It's a very diverse crowd, which is nice. I think it's emblematic of Evanston, which is a pretty diverse area.
All right, Mike, you picked Peppercorns. Sum it up for us.
Great regional Chinese food that anyone can find something that they like in a wonderful neighborhood.
All right. Keisha?
Some standout dishes, a few issues with service that made it inaccessible for me, but hearing you guys, I'll go back.
All right. And Joanna?
Worth the trip to the suburbs and a pretty authentic experience.
All right. Well, you can try the garlic eggplant and much more at Peppercorns Kitchen, 620 Davis Street in Evanston, 847-563-8461. They're open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. Reservations are accepted for large parties, and the average tab per person without drinks is $25. So in this week's show, we featured Finom Coffee in Old Irving Park, Pacific Standard Time in River North, and Peppercorns Kitchen in Evanston. Let's recap what our guests had to say. First, we headed to Irving Park Road and had a cup at Finom Coffee. Joanna recommends it for its delicious and bountiful fare in a comfortable coffee shop. Mike says go for high-end Hungarian cuisine in an eclectic space. Keisha loved the surprising and soulful dishes at a great price. Then we hopped onto Erie Street and stopped in at Pacific Standard Time. Keisha recommends it for fresh flavors and lively vibe in a bright and inviting space. Joanna said it was a beautiful restaurant and especially loved the dessert. Mike raved about the perfectly balanced seasonal cuisine. Lastly, we went down to Davis Street and dropped in at Peppercorns Kitchen. Mike recommends it for its spicy Szechuan cuisine and adventurous menu. Keisha had some trouble with the service and said it was a little too spicy for her. Joanna enjoyed the variety of Szechuan dishes and said it was an authentic experience. Well, we've had just a wonderful time this week, and I'd like to thank my guests, Joanna Moylikowski, Keisha Rembert, and Mike Gilbert. Join us next week for 3 new guests recommending for their favorite restaurants right here on Check Please. I'm Alpina Singh, and I'll see you then. Well, cheers. That was fun.
For more information about the restaurants featured on Check Please, go to WTTW.com/checkplease.
Bye.